yeah, in terms of the adaptations or how I've adapted over the years, if you sort of look at the timeline, well, it's gone from film photography, that was never going to, last. But so digital photography, then I brought video in shortly after that. And then after that, it was drone. And that now has become sort of the bedrock of the business, really. And then once you're there, and a question to you is, and myself, of course, is where is the industry going next, and how are you going to be ahead of that, or not even ahead of it, but are you aware of potentially the direction of travel? Obviously, I mean, everything's AI. Everything is, there's lots of discussions about AI, about how that's going to change things, and obviously voiceover, that's potentially could alter the whole thing massively. It could alter everything in the film industry to a certain extent. So yeah, I think you've always got to be aware of what's coming next, so it doesn't blindside you. Because if you're blindsided, you're too late.
There's something that I'm trying to bring back from my last real job, and the boss there would go to meetings for pitching for work for the company, knowing full well that we didn't have the capacity or the knowledge how to do that. And his opinion was always, if we get it, we'll work it out.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of thinking about that a bit more now, in terms of like what we were talking about on the way over. So I edit podcasts, but I only do audio, for example. So if someone says to me now, can you, because I have had it in the past and I've said no up until this point, can you do video as well? No, but I will work it out. I'll get people to do that part of it.
Yeah.
And just cream off of the top and do nothing.
Project
whatsoever.
management fee.
So I'm trying to bring that in a bit, I think.
But so basically what you're saying is you're not, it's not a hard no.
Yeah, so I think be more open to, and that comes from, is it The Go Giver, or maybe even How to Win? No, it's The Go Giver, I think. Just be open to opportunity. Be aware that there's other stuff out there that you could do. Podcast editing. Yeah, I didn't do that a few years ago, but I do now.
Exactly,
and I enjoy it. So it's wise to not just. And there's no shame in doing something else in your business as well, I don't think.
No, I think that has big links to what we were talking about in the last episode, in terms of identity and imposter syndrome. If you were doing thumbnails for a client, is there a part of you that said, well, this is weird because I'm a voiceover artist, I shouldn't be doing thumbnails in my business? Whereas actually the other way to look at it is, no, I'm self-employed in the creative industry, and it's all linked. I
don't think I mind that, as long as I'm enjoying it.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say yes to stuff that I think I'm probably not going to enjoy. But I know that I edited some photos for you a while ago.
Did a bloody good job.
Thank you very much. It's not what I do most of the time, but I can do that stuff. And if I've got the time, I will say yes, because why not?
Yeah, absolutely.
It means I'll be able to have dinner that week.
Yeah. You can have sausage and baked beans rather than just baked beans. But knowing you as I do, you put a lot of time and effort into your business. With the adaptations that with the future the way it potentially is, with AI and technology, how are you going to adapt? Or how do you think you're going to have to adapt?
So I already have.
Yeah, of course he has. Of course he bloody has.
So when it first started kicking off, my initial thought was nothing's going to change. It's not that I didn't believe that at the time, but I think my thought process has changed. So I think it's because everyone was shouting, I'm scared of AI. So I thought, okay, well, I'll work towards something anyway. And it was literally just to stay ahead of the game. when I first started voiceover, I just used a microphone that I already had from my famous musician days. But it was so it was a bit old. Nothing wrong with it. And I think new now it still costs £100. It's always just kept that price. So really good value. It is a good, very good quality mic. But it's quite tinny sounding.
Okay.
So you can produce audio, obviously, to fix some of those audio deficiencies, shall we call them? Issues. You're better at words than me.
No, I'm not.
But I think, it wasn't representing my voice to how it sounds, basically, in real life.
Okay.
Not
Just a quick one. Is that in the voiceover world? Is that how you class a good mic? How similar your voice is through the mic to when you're talking ambiently?
To a degree, yeah, but there will be certain projects where you will want the voice to sound warmer, richer.
Oh.
Then there will be times where you do want it to sound thin. If you're in the background of a TV show on the radio, you need it to sound different. Yeah. But that will also be down to the production afterwards. But yeah, I think the more natural that you can get the audio to sound when it's recorded to the real life version, that gives you more scope to muck about with it afterwards if you need to.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it wasn't until I'd got a more expensive microphone that had been recommended by lots of people in the industry that you could hear the difference. It just sounds fuller and richer.
Would a client say, "Yeah, you need to change your mic"?
The only time that happened with that microphone, actually, there was a time, was when I was reaching out to agencies about a year or so ago, maybe 2 years. Yeah, a couple of years ago. And one of them come back and specifically pulled out the sound of the voice being too thin or whatever it was they said. And all I can put it down to is that microphone, because there's nothing else since then in my system that's changed, just the microphone.
But that's the only one.
Yeah.
So it's not unreasonable to say then that you could still be running a successful voiceover business with £100 mic. I always think about the story if you're moved into a new house and you need everything plastered, would you want someone with 25 years experience that knows the craft inside and out backwards with okay equipment, or would you want top of the range equipment with someone first day on the job who didn't know what was doing? And that's the same kind of thing, isn't it?
That reminds me of, so when I was younger, I did a lot of music, was in bands, and we played once in Bracknell, I think, near Reading, in a cool venue, like in an arts centre. It was in a basement in the arts centre. And I was in a 3-piece at the time, and all our stuff was like really battered and old and just had what we could to play music. And then a really young band turned up with equipment that was, really, really good guitars, top of the range amps that they could not afford because they probably hadn't even left school yet, sort of thing. Funded by their parents, more likely, which is absolutely fine, no problem with that. And they were very good. So that's where that falls down, that argument, because they were really good as well. And we weren't.
So you're saying the equipment was bad?
No, their equipment was really good, and they were very good.
Okay, but if their equipment was bad, but they were really good, they would still sound good.
Not as good.
Not as good.
Not as good.
No, not as good.
Because, like you said, the perception from the audience would be, he's a good guitarist, but he sounds bad.
Yeah.
Because it might be a terrible amp. Anyway, we're getting off topic, but it's a similar sort of thing.
I think what equipment can do for both, or maybe all creative businesses, I suppose, is you can feel that you're one purchase away to improving or getting that client because it's a quick win. Where actually, what's stopping you getting that client or improving your business or your skill set is study, and all the other stuff that goes into it, experience, that kind of stuff.
What's the one piece of equipment that you've bought that is perhaps the most extravagant, but not in terms of cost, but in terms of the little effect that it has on your business?
As in the biggest investment, smallest gains.
Yeah, it doesn't even have to be something really expensive, but something that was, of monetary value.
Yeah.
Because there's always room for improvement. And I think if you're ironing out inefficiencies in a process, it could be a minuscule gain.
Well, I'll try and come back to that if I can remember something. But something that was a game changer for quite a small cost for me was lighting. Like lighting and lenses on the visual side is a lot more important than the camera body, because the camera body goes out like every year. There's a different model, but you get good glass and you get good lighting, and your knowledge of lighting, like this NDH Productions, perfect lighting. That's the game changer. I suppose a good place to start is how did you decide on your prices, and how do you settle on your prices now?
Okay, so I decided on my prices. I think it's a bit different in voiceover.
Okay.
Because there's industry standard rates for the different types of voiceover job. So what I charge, or what the industry says you should charge for a radio ad, is different to a corporate video or a video game or whatever. But there is part of it where you charge what's called your basic studio fee, which is like your hourly rate, basically. And then you get into the licensing and that sort of thing. And you can set your basic studio fee to whatever you want. Some of the more, the older heads, the people who've been doing it for a long time, who have got their reputation already, can charge sort of £400 or £500 maybe for an hour of their voice, of their recording time. Whereas when you first come into the industry, you can't start charging that because you haven't got the experience, you haven't got the portfolio, no one knows who you are. So you start a lot lower than that. And my basic studio fee to start with was, I thought, well, £100 for an hour still sounds pretty good to me, coming from a salaried job that was not that before that. But as time went on, people started saying to me, that's not enough. That's not enough. And not just other voiceovers, it was people like video production companies, things like that. You said it was too expensive, but that's another discussion for another time. But you know how I put my price up, put them up live on LinkedIn.
Yeah, which is tremendous.
New Year's Eve every year. And actually, they didn't actually go up this year. It was just a joke. But,
that's amazing how you've joked about the prices going up, but it hasn't gone up.
Yeah.
That is whiskers, isn't
and that was the only year they haven't gone up. So every year since I started, I think I put it up a little bit. So I'm at £200 an hour now for that, which is more in the range of what everyone else charges for voiceover. So I'm in that ballpark.
So you're not cheap,
yep,
but you're not expensive.
Mm-hmm.
You are totally in the middle.
Yes.
Where lots of people say that's the worst place to be. I don't agree with that, by the way.
Oh, okay, good.
But there's lots
We're friends again.
There's lots of business moguls
Yep.
who talk about pricing.
Like us.
Like us, of course. The talk about pricing is there's like the middle ground is terrible because you're not one thing or the other. Mm-hmm. I personally think that I think it's a good place to be, because if you're, firstly, depending on the person, of course, you've got confidence when proposing, mm-hmm, because you know that if you're going to a client that's tendering, there's 5 to 10, you know that benchmarking, kind of, you're going to be in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got a chance in that way. And also, I think that if you're reasonably priced, then the client is probably going to choose you because of your quality of work, or maybe the relationship you have.
Yep, that's exactly what I was thinking. If there's 10 VOs all charging £200 an hour,
yeah,
they got to go on skill.
Yeah,
on the quality of what you're doing.
Yeah. I suppose the benefits of being cheap, mm-hmm, is if you want to run a business that's very cheap but high volume and you want to be busy all the time.
Mm-hmm.
The only problem with that, of course, is it's kind of a race to the bottom.
Yep.
And it actually can obviously affect the whole market. But yeah, I'm not even sure about that, to be honest, because there's always going to be people on Facebook that want something for 70 quid.
Mm.
And do you want to be working with those people anyway? Probably not. And also, something to think about is how you deal. I think your pricing should reflect how you deal with money in your business, or your mental attitude towards money. Because if you're going for premium projects all the time, generally speaking, it's going to be amazing months and then probably poor months. Unless you're in that 1% that's really, really busy with premium projects. But they just don't come around as often because of budgets. So I think that if you're a person who really struggles with the mental side of feast or famine, that might be difficult. Whereas if you're quite anxious about bringing a certain amount of money in every single month, maybe your pricing needs to reflect that, so you are slightly more consistent with your with your business.
About the other end of the spectrum, when is it okay to do something for nothing?
That's a great question. Okay, I'm pretty set on this actually.
Okay. Go on.
Because lots of people in the creative industry, especially people starting out, they'll sort of tell young people, never, ever, ever work for free. Devalues the industry, blah, de, blah, de, blah. I couldn't agree less. under a couple of circumstances. And I think it's all about context. If someone sees your work and emails you, calls you and says, I'd love to work with you, I love your work, but we don't have a budget. Could you, but we'll give you a shout out on social media, it would be brilliant exposure for you or whatever. That is totally different to you wanting to potentially build a portfolio and you getting hold of someone. And then it's more of a transaction. That's more of a win-win.
Yeah.
Because I would never, ever phone up an electrician and say, I love the way you do your wiring. I've got
do my light bulbs for
I've got 500 connections on LinkedIn. I'll give you a shout out. I would never do that. But I think it's different if an electrician, this would never happen either, but just say an electrician wanted to work on a certain house or something for their portfolio, it would be a transaction. So I think as long as you're getting something from it, because the work you show is hopefully the work you show is the work that you get. So if you can see it as, well, it's an investment, I don't think there's any problem with that whatsoever.
Yeah. So a couple of examples. I think it was last year, a video company got in touch, who I know well enough. I think I'd done a job for them previously. Said, we're doing a charity video. Would you mind doing a voiceover for us for £0? And I thought, well, first of all, it's for charity, which I don't mind doing stuff for charity. And I know them, I know they're not just doing it to be cheeky sort of thing. They want to do a good production, so they want a bit of everything in there, I guess. So I did it. And then 2 weeks later, they sent me a fully paid job. So I think there's ways that you can think, well, actually, it puts me in their good books and reminds them of me and what I do. So for the next job, they might think, oh, we'll give that to Martin because he did us a favour. The other one is talking about, you mentioned about doing something to build a portfolio. So there's I think it's a Kent-based Facebook or Kent-based business Facebook group where there's always, I think it's the same guy, posting in there saying, I'll do your website for free, I'll do your website for free.
Okay.
What do you think about that? Because to me, it just looks desperate.
Yeah. If I was a web designer and looking at that would probably annoy me. But actually, if I was established, would it? Because the people going after that, and it could help a lot of people out if they're starting their own business and they don't have a budget and things. But it's kind of up to them, isn't it? I mean, from devil's advocate way of looking at it is that he's trying to build a portfolio. Yes, you could argue that it's damaging the industry, but is it really? Because there's enough work to go around. That's an interesting one, though. I'd have to ponder on that.